Interim Dean of Agriculture, Life, and Physical Sciences.
I don't know about you, but I'm fired up after seeing that video. I'm an old, as Matt was saying, an old wrestler and football player myself. I did graduate from Lehigh University. I don't know if anybody is familiar with Lehigh, but over 50% of the male population of that university lives on campus in fraternities. So that was a huge, which leads, maybe is the leader percentage-wise in the nation. So I was at a university where groups like you, men like you, was a very, very important part of campus life. And I will say, revitalizing Greek Row is huge to this university. Because in my previous job as director of the School of Forestry and Port in CALPS, I was directly meeting with parents, prospective students. So this isn't just a Greek issue, this is truly a university issue. And that's why I think Chancellor Lane is fully behind this, because he realizes unless we revitalize Greek Row, we're gonna continue to have issues with undergraduate enrollment. Because as Susan said, we all know, it's not the nicest place people see when they come on campus. The university knows that. This is a way to address that, for your group to really be the leader. The ones where the university's first going to address this issue. And I've heard it directly from parents. What is going on over there? And I have to do some talking about that, and we all do, and it's something we want to address in the short term, really, not the long term. So I'm with what everybody's saying. The university and Chancellor Lane in particular is really fully behind this, because he understands also the importance of fraternities and fraternities on campus and what that does for the university as a whole. That's really, really critical. So I'm the fill-in for this semester as the dean. I tease, I'm trying to act like the dean. I'm the acting dean, but I was remiss last night. I should have said, we did hire a permanent dean, Chris Boone from Ohio State University, and she'll be here at the end of May, and we're super excited. I know some of you were involved in that search. Very excited that Chris will be joining us. I'm starting to meet with her on a bi-weekly basis, get her up to speed on the college. I'll be going back to my role as Director of Forestry and Horticulture. So I'll be working underneath Dean Boone, but we're really excited because she shares our vision for where CALPS is going. We are the leader on this campus. I mean, I was teasing Bob Morgan, but we really are the leader, and we want to continue to be a leader on a lot of issues. And that's why it's so exciting for me to get in front of this group, because you're going to lead the way revitalizing Greek Row. We believe, we hope, right? And I think this administration and future administrations will look to CALPS to lead. We have leaders among our alums, and you saw last night among our students, right? Gary says, Ag has a long history, the best history in my opinion, and I'm biased, right? Because I went through Ag, of developing leaders, right? And that's a big part of all our curriculums, all our agriculture related programs in CALPS. So I did want to say a little details about how things are going in CALPS. A lot of good news to share. Enrollment's been up, as you've been seeing in the news, SIU, but enrollment's also up in CALPS. So our programs, we're getting more students, and projects like this is going to help us get even more students. you know, we're getting into a positive cycle now, which is, we've worked hard to get here. Now we want to really get it rolling. Agribusiness economics, you heard last night, for those 30% increase in enrollment. That's huge. Forestry, 20% increase in enrollment. They're up to 165 students. That's the second largest undergraduate forestry program, not in the Midwest, in the nation. In the nation. So there's programs here that are really leading the nation in what we're doing with the curriculum. Ag systems is up significantly. Ag ed is up. Horticulture's up. So we're doing a good job recruiting. We need to keep doing that, obviously, to keep growing our programs. We're growing faculty, right? We're replacing faculty. We'd like to do more replacing of faculty, right? We're in some tough, we have challenges, we have to make tough decisions in terms of those things. But we're super excited to report Dr. Billy Ram of North Dakota State University. After 2 failed searches in precision ag, we have a successful one to report. He just inked a contract last week. So I was fortunate to do those negotiations with him. And he's going to be utilizing that Science Stricker Novi partnership, which is huge for CAPS, right? Because we want the students out there training on that state-of-the-art equipment, and he's committed to, and we are doing that, but we really now have the full curriculum roll out with a precision ag professor in ag systems who's an ag engineer. So he'll be doing that, and he'll be starting this fall. Then in horticulture, we just hired Amanda Whitehuner. So she just started in January. So she's really the farm to fork. I was just talking to her about that yesterday. There's a lot of good possibilities with doing that, and even some curriculum development in that area. And then I'm working on 4 in biological sciences. So you know, CALPS, we merged ag and science merged 4 years ago. And that has been a process, right? And I'm smack dab in the middle of that now. And we're still working through, but each year that goes by, CALPS is more and more working together, coordinated. I'm talking about the ag and the science side. And there is a lot of good synergies between those 2 former colleges. But we're a big college. We're second largest in enrollment. As you heard, we're leading in fundraising, right? And that's because of you. So thank you for your generosity to date, because that's one thing I know about the agricultural community. They will step up when called upon, right? They always have stepped up in the past and continue to step up. We are doing some really good partnerships across the college, or across the university, I should say, some pretty innovative programs. One in conservation law enforcement that we're doing with the College of Health and Human Sciences, between forestry and criminology and criminal justice. So we gotta look at that. We gotta work together across boundaries, right? We don't wanna be siloed in ag, and we're looking to work with a lot of different groups. So those are the main things I wanted to report on. But I will say, you know, I've been here 26 years, came from Pennsylvania, came from an ag background. My dad and grandfather put up one of the first big laying houses in central Pennsylvania. So I grew up on that farm, and, you know, so it's in my blood, but it's just, I'm very proud to serve as the acting dean this semester. You know, I'll be going back, but it's hit me more than I thought it would. in terms of serving a college that has such a long, proud history in serving this region. And we're not just training students, right? We're doing a lot of outreach to producers here in Southern Illinois, because guess what? Our friends up in Central Illinois, they have a whole different ball game, right? They can't do it. We're different down here with different soils. Everything's a little bit different. And we wanna be that support to our Southern Illinois producers. And I think we're making great strides in that area. So I'll take any questions from the group about CALPS, what we've been working on.
Dr. Williard?
Yes.
Thank you for your leadership here as the acting dean,
Yeah.
and for your previous service there in the School of Forestry. I'm aware that Western Illinois has had significant financial stress, and I learned just a few days ago they have a curriculum for ag education teachers. I'm involved in ag education quite a lot, so I'm very sensitive to this, that we're already not producing enough young men and women for that field. I don't know if you had a chance to visit with them, talk with them, but we are a school or a university that does produce agriculture education teachers, and just maybe get some of your thoughts about how we stimulate more of that kind of interest.
Yeah, and those are the things, and I've heard this, I didn't hear the ag ed piece, but I've heard this from the hort side, because their hort training has gone down too, because of the challenges they've had on that campus in terms of fiscal challenges and laying off faculty and the like. So unfortunately, you know, we hate to see that happen, but it is an opportunity for Southern to step up in some of these areas where we can really add some extra people, hopefully. But that's a Dean Boone. The good news is, guess what her background is? Ag ed. So she understands ag ed, ag communications. So she's an agricultural dean, which is that all? That was very important to a lot of us, as Gary knows. When we went into the dean search, there were a lot of long-term faculty. It was super important that we hired a dean who understands agriculture. So I won't say any more, but we're very happy Dean Boone will be starting, and I think that is an opportunity there. If we can get perhaps another faculty member in that area, because ag ed is one of the areas that's growing, but it's going to grow even more, or have the potential to. And why not Southern? Why not Southern? Why should we send all that capacity to U of I? That's the other thing I didn't get to say. This university is a really unique university on the landscape, because we're a medium-sized university, we're an R1 institution. That means we're doing a lot of research on this campus, but we're small enough, and you all know this, we're small enough to give each and every student a lot of attention. And we know them by name, right, Karl? Right. We know them by name because we work with them in our classes, out on the farms, undergraduate research, training programs. U of I can't do that in the way we do it, because they have a sea of students. That's what I tell prospective students in forestry and port. That's what I sell them on. When your son or daughter comes here, they are gonna have significant opportunities to work directly with faculty, not grad students, right? Not TAs, but faculty are gonna teach them, they're gonna train them, they're gonna work with them directly. And so I think we have an opportunity to continue to build ag ed, we hope. And hort, that's the other area I'm more familiar with. We are now the only comprehensive horticulture program in the state of Illinois. So there's lots of things that have been going on in ag and the hort arena. But that's a real opportunity, is to market to not only the state of Illinois, but within state tuition, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee. Forestry is attracting kids from my home state, as far away as Pennsylvania, Oklahoma, Texas, California, because of that in-state tuition. That's a huge deal for us. So we can bring, because we beat, where's ag located? On campuses, it's usually in the land grants, like where I came from at Penn State. So we are one of the largest non-land grant college of ags in the country. You should all be very proud of that. Texas Tech's bigger than us, but they're one of the few. And we've been in that position, and we want to stay in that position. We want to grow, because ag is so important to this state. So we should have a very large non-land grant college of ag in Illinois, and we're in, and we want to continue to grow that. And that's going to be a lot with your help. Yeah.
I have an interesting comment. I live in northeastern Indiana, and which is in the heart of absolutely Purdue country.
Yes.
And but I have some classified forest, and this past winter, I was due for an inspection by my district forester. Well, when my district forester came, he also brought the state forester with him. And as we were walking through the woods, I had my SIU hat on, and the state forester asked me, why do you know anything about SIU here in the middle of Purdue country? And I said, well, I'm an SIU grad. So that started the conversation. She said, I can't go to Purdue to get foresters. She said, I would like to go to SIU. She said they have one of the best forestry schools in the country. I'd like to go to SIU to get more foresters. And she said, I really like some help sometime to do that. I thought that was a really interesting comment, and it said a lot to how good the forestry program here is at SIU.
No, I appreciate that. We do take a lot of pride in our program in forestry. That's my home area where I started and came through. I'll add to that, the state forester in the state of Missouri, SIU alum, who's actually my grad student, but he's an undergrad. Mike Bill, he's an undergrad here, and then a master's student of mine. And we have more foresters in the state of Missouri than Mizzou does. And we have a lot now in Indiana too. And I want to connect with you, so I can connect with your contacts so we can get some more over there. Because Purdue, guess how big their program is? They're down to 35, 40 students. We're 165. So you know the numbers. We can supply all the surrounding states, not just Illinois, with graduates for these jobs. So, yeah.
Are you gonna continue doing the ag days like you've done in the fall? I really enjoy that coming down here. Last year I was down here for family weekend because I had a great niece going to school down there nursing. And just so happened it was her last year, so a bunch of our family came down here and some of them were tailgating. Well, it's like, my wife and I just kind of walked around. We found out it was ag day. Hell with the tailgating. We don't have to worry about bringing our own stuff. We know enough people walk. I just wonder if you'll continue doing that.
Absolutely.
It was very,
Yeah.
will that be something that's fall in again?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
And there's several events that we do. So refresh me, which one in particular were you?
Well, I was, like I said, I was down there for family weekend, but that's also, they had the ag, cause Farm
Yeah.
Bureau was there, Golden Harvest
Yeah.
was there. You had your John Deere stuff and SN Partners out there.
Football game.
Everything, your football game,
It's
yeah.
at the tailgate. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
continue to do those. And Gary knows that. I think Gary just stepped out, but for the first time, we're doing an agricultural sciences preview day for admitted students. So it's actually coming up March 21st. We started this in forestry and board to have a day where prospective students, we gotta basically out-recruit everybody, which we can do, if we just put some effort behind it. But one of the ways is we want admitted students in the springtime to come on this campus to have a whole day dedicated to them. So they can sit in on classes, they can meet all their professors and talk with existing students. And guess what our yield rate in forestry, when we did this 2 years ago and last year, 66% of the admitted students we yielded as registered students. And that may not sound like a lot to you, but guess what the university average is? Less than 20. It's in the high teens, about 18, 19%. And AG's gonna do the same thing. My goal, I said, is to get a 50% yield rate for School of Ag Sciences. I think we could do it. But we need these connections with alums too. And we need connections with jobs. That's the other thing I'll say is we're really focused. Most of our students in ag and forestry and hort are not going to grad school because they're entering the workforce. And that's how we differ a little bit by side. We send 70% of our graduates directly to the workforce. Science, it's flipped. They send 70% of their graduates to graduate school. So that's a big difference, and that's a challenge I was alluding to. We really focus on connecting our students, like you were talking about, with employers, and doing that while they're here on campus. So that's when we talk to prospective students, those are the connections we're making, not just with the student, but mainly their parents. Because the parents, they wanna know, if they're spending this money, what jobs are my son and daughter gonna get when they finish? And so we really have to be more active about that in our recruiting. And we wanna make even more connections with all, and this is a lot of you, all the great companies in ag, in forestry hort, who employ our students, right? So help us with that. So if you have ideas, you have internships, we wanna hear about it. We've gotta get that information to our students.
So, while we're on the topic of recruitment, you mentioned how big of a program forestry is within our college. I think we've got 2 forestry majors in our chapter right now. Jacob, stand up. He's one of them, and he's new this spring. And then Drake, he's another one. He was new this past fall. So that's a big area of growth that we haven't stepped into yet. Sodders, okay, so we got 3, right? Sodders, thanks Jacob. We got 2 Jacobs. That's a big area of growth. How do we step into that? How do we, that's such a huge program that we've got. And
Well, I think it's these guys, and it's you, it's the leaders, talking with all the students in both schools. And I'm glad to hear you say this, because I think I've been hoping this would happen, and obviously it's starting to happen, but we can do it even more. AGR, all of them, is to talk with especially our younger, freshmen who are coming on. But if you want to get in front of prospective students on a preview day, tell them. I would love to have a group like AGR, especially if we have an on-campus house. Come into preview day and talk to all of these students, get them fired up about joining AGR. We can all help each other, but we gotta make these connections to make it happen. And that's why I'm happy Susan invited me to be with me today, because I think there's a lot we can do together to bring this up. Yeah.
I don't know who's in charge of our alumni scholarships, but I don't know if many of you heard, but Matt Reedy passed away last summer, who was a forestry major when I was in college down here. And his life was dedicated to forestry. He went right out of college, joined the Forest Service, was a fire jumper his entire life, became captain, so forth and so on, moved up in the ranks. And I attended his funeral, and I don't know if we want to go somewhere with a forestry scholarship named after Matt, but I'd be honored to try to lead that.
That'd be awesome. Because that's That's great. That's another big, college is getting more and more expensive. Thankfully, SIU's held the line on tuition increases for quite a while now. But it's still a big commitment. So those scholarships you're talking about, honoring people like Matt, super important. We have 12 of them that we give in forestry, but I wanna have 20. I wanna have 25, $1,000 scholarships per year. I can help these students, because they need it. They need the help. We don't want any student to ever have to think about leaving school because they can't pay the bills. And believe me, it happens. Gary knows that. Absolutely. Some students leave our programs purely based on financial reasons. And
Can I share an idea with you?
Yeah.
Can I jump in there? Sorry. I don't know how all this works Zoom-wise. But if you're wanting to build relationships with employers and having your alumni be a cornerstone of SIU, has the thought ever occurred to you guys of getting working relationships with corporations that would dive into providing money for a student's tuition, kind of like a co-op program?
Yeah, there has been a lot of that on, and just, even before that, we have to connect them, like, we gotta get them all to our career fair in the fall. The career fair's been great, but it could be bigger. We have a lot
I was
of.
gonna say, even when I was there, the career fair wasn't nothing to write home about.
Yeah, it's been
And
better.
that was back in '99.
Yeah, it's been
So-
better recently, but in my estimation, it could grow. Cause we can't have any stone unturned. We gotta connect the students. But yeah, after that, I think the financial piece comes next. But there's.
Cause I was thinking you as administration need to meet with like business leaders
Yes,
and have a talk. That's where I'm thinking this needs to go.
and we're.
Instead of employees as alumni coming back to SIU.
Right. Well, it's both. But we're, Susan alluded to it, and not to throw more needs, but just so you're aware, we have a HORT program that's the last in the state of Illinois without a teaching greenhouse for 10 years, for 12 years now. I told Matt, he's a football quarterback, right? I said, Matt, that's like having a football team without a place to practice or play their game. That's how serious this is. We could double HORT enrollment if the university, and they're working, but we need to have them work a little bit faster, I guess is the word, on finishing that project. So if anybody in here can help me with that, that's something I've been working on the last 2 years. We gotta have it, and it's not just for HORT, it's for agronomy. So as everybody know, Crop Soil Environmental Management has put in a name change to agronomy, which hopefully people are aware of. I should have said that last night. And that program is a program we gotta revitalize. I'll just tell you frankly, we're down to 19 students. That's too low, right? So it's not all roses, on enrollment. There's some programs that are struggling, but I think we can build them back up again. And the teaching greenhouse is gonna be part of that.
What border states does Illinois work with on in-state tuition?
All of them. So we have in-state tuition for the United States of America. For everybody. And they made that change 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And it's just now really kicking in. Of course, the border states, because most kids don't want to travel a huge distance to go to college. So we're getting a lot more from Missouri, Kentucky, Indiana, Wisconsin, Tennessee. But we are getting some of those far travelers, Texas, California, coming into CALPS. Oklahoma. We have a student from Massachusetts in forestry that I have in class. So that really helps us, because I didn't articulate it clearly, but we beat Purdue big time on tuition. We beat Mizzou big time on tuition. We beat Wisconsin, you know what I mean? We beat Kentucky. And they get a better experience here, because they get more individual attention. But we got to get us in front of the students. So you send us those prospective students, we'll meet with them. I guarantee you know about this campus sells itself, right? You know the campus, you guys lived here. If we can get a student for an in-person visit on this campus, yield rates skyrocket. Gary knows it. I hate this, because we all know SIU, but there's a lot of people, even in our own state, that don't know what's going on SIU's campus. I know, it's hard to believe, but so we have to do a better job of outreach to prospective students, and again, their parents. More and more parents are actually helping their kids decide, you know, what the best school for that. It wasn't that way in my generation or your generation, right? But that's the reality we're dealing with. So when I meet with a student, 99% of the time their parent or parents are with them. When I first started doing this, it was maybe 60%. So there's a big difference there. So we gotta sell it to the parents too. It's not just the student.
So you guys need to be diligent about cleaning up Greek Road then. Cause we hear this about every other 5 years of up and down, they wanna be back, you know, they want AGR to be back, and they wanna do this. SIU's gotta be really diligent. Us as an organization needs to hold the university accountable for what they're saying.
Yeah.
And they need to stick to it.
No, that's what was discussed earlier. We have to have, the university has to have Greek Road revitalized. And it's only
Because
gonna get
you were just
revitalized
talking
with
about-
everybody helping.
You're just talking about bringing in new prospective students.
Yep.
One of my friends just came back from National Farm Machinery Show, alumni, drove through the campus, and he goes, it looks like a war zone. It's like, why would you wanna send people there if it looks so bad? You know, you gotta have the look to go with the structure too.
Oh, I know, and that's the first thing I said is, yeah, it's an eyesore. You know, I get those questions when I'm talking with forestry and hort students. What's going on in that part of campus? We can't hide it. We gotta say, at least now we can say the university's committed to a plan to revitalize it. And I do echo what a lot was said earlier, and that's being led by the top. Chancellor Lane is saying that. And that's what we were missing before, in my opinion. I was just a humble faculty, you know, still am. But when you hear the chancellor saying it and the head of the foundation saying it, the university's serious about it, because they're realizing it's exactly what you're saying, we are missing some prospective students who come to this campus and they're wondering, cause you all get out, you know what other campuses look like, we do, this is an area we have to improve. There are parts of campus, great, but that's one part of campus we have to improve, 100%.
Your partnership with Syngenta, is it done now or not? I've heard that it was gonna be.
Yeah, I don't have the most up to date on that. I'd have to ask Ira Altman. But we gotta get more students in our agronomy program. So that's the recruiting piece. And it's gonna take hard work. But we've shown, like Hort, we got down in the low 30s. Now, we're up in the low 40s. With a greenhouse, I'll say it, we can get 60, 70, 80 quickly. Because people, this place is a wonderful place. As you know, I don't have to tell you, to study, right? To live the campus life. But we just gotta get people here to see it for themselves. What else? I know you have business to attend to, right? But if you have anything, so I'll be in this position until May 31st. And then Dean Boone will be starting May 27th, so we'll have like 4 days overlap. But I'm transitioning with her now. But if you have anything you think I can help you with, or that you can help me with, along any of these things we talk about, please contact me. And I'll still be working on forestry and board directly, but I'll be working on ag indirectly, with Ira and others. So I'm not going anywhere, is what I'm saying. I'll be here. You know, this is where my wife and I raised our 5 kids, so she said, I'm not going anywhere, right? So we'll be here, hopefully
for us.
see some grandkids too.
Got about a minute there. In forestry specifically, where are your graduates going? Where are they being employed?
Good question, yeah. It's federal, state, and private. Federal was awesome until just about a month or 2 ago, right? A lot of federal employment, Forest Service, yeah. So unfortunately, this graduating class is really gonna be hit with that. But I was just talking to some students yesterday. The states are still hiring, right? So Missouri hires a lot of our students. That's Missouri Department of Conservation. Illinois is hiring, Illinois Department of Natural Resources. We send a lot to Indiana. So the region, but we send them all over. As somebody said, smoke jumper. We have students literally working in every state in the nation, including Alaska, Hawaii. Because, you know, it's a niche. You know, it's just a fortunate thing that happened. There's only 48 forestry programs in the country, and we're the 2nd largest. So we're sending kids out. National Park Service is another big one. When I go visit the national parks with my kids, I always wear my SIUC gear. At every park I've been in, I have people come up to employees, because we have always had a big forest recreation program. So those folks are working in the national park service, and then industry too. That would be the minor. So first would be federal employment, primarily Forest Service, but also Bureau of Land Management. Army Corps of Engineers actually hires foresters because the forest land that they have around some of the reservoirs and along the Mississippi River corridor, so they manage that as a federal agency. They've actually kept hiring because they're underneath Department of Defense. So that's the one federal agency that hasn't had the big reductions in workforce that we're seeing the last 2-3 weeks. So it has hurt us, but students are still, it was so good last year, most of our students were getting 5-6 job offers. Now this year, they're gonna get 1 and they're gonna have to take it. Thank you. If you can